Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's another Tipsy Tuesday. It's another Tipsy Tuesday. Forgive us. We were a little behind. We were having some technical difficulties. So we are in here. We are ready to discuss all the things today. Are you ready to discuss all the things?
I'm ready to get into it.
Let's get into it. All right. So, guys, as you know, we are talking about the four secret tips to move beyond a toxic workplace and take fulfilling risk. That's what we're talking about today. And I think that this is an important topic simply because there are so many people in toxic workplaces, or they are in unhealthy environments. They don't know how to get out of them. They think that this is the way that it's supposed to be when it comes to working in corporate America or working in a job setting in general. And I'm here to tell you, and so is Ebony, it does not have to be this way. So let's get into all the things. And before we get into all the things, you already know who I am. I'm Everly Alexander, and I am the CEO of COAC, which stands for Community Outreach and Advocacy Corporation, my local nonprofit here in the Atlanta area. We provide all the different types of employment tips. We give back to the community in multiple ways, serving them with food and basic need essentials and just amplifying the workforce in general. And of course, if you saw my last live or if you just follow her in general, you already know who she is, right? We got my sister, Ebony Lawson, who is the love and authenticity expert. She also is a speaker. She's a licensed psychotherapist. The list goes on and on with her. So, highly qualified to talk about a multitude of topics. And I'm so excited that she could join us again today on our Tipsy Tuesday.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited. We're doing it again, part two.
Part two. We are in here, definitely wrapping it up again. So let's just jump right into it. Let's talk about what defines an unhealthy work environment, because I feel like a lot of people, because it feels so normal for them to have toxicity in their lives and just in their work environments, they may not know what an unhealthy work environment is, right? And I feel like you can help by talking about some different pointers and tips that can help people kind of get past that. But let me just give you, the viewers, an idea of what an unhealthy work environment looks like. So, according to Indeed, an unhealthy work environment is characterized by an ineffective or negative communication, unprofessional or dishonest behavior, punitive practices or policies, and or strained relationships between employees and office leadership. I've had plenty of unhealthy work environments, and I've been able to recognize when I was in an unhealthy work environment. But equally, I also thought that that's the nature of the beast, and I needed to just bite the bullet and deal with what what was dealt to me. And I only recently realized that in the last 2 years that I didn't have to deal with stuff like that. I don't deserve people to talk to me any kind of way. And I can go into my own story too, which I know I'll talk about a little bit. Um, but let me just ask you before I dive into a little bit of what I've experienced with unhealthy work environments. What do you classify as an unhealthy work environment?
Yeah, I mean, I love that definition, but I'm going to take it a step further because I believe that the soul is how we are animated, and that's how our humanity is animated. So when you are in a work environment, the way that to know it's unhealthy, at least the way that I perceive it, is when you know that you're holding your breath every single day and you can't breathe. That's how you know your body is communicating to you, your soul is communicating to you that, hey, something may not be what it feels like it should be. And
Right.
we'll talk a little bit about that when I share a little bit about what I think in deeper details about the unhealthy environment, because there's layers to it. Sometimes unhealthy environment is not always the ineffective communication piece. It may not always be the crazy, dramatic, draining type of situation when it comes to the people. It may just be that your spirit is tired of going, and that your spirit does not like it, and that your spirit has to wake up every day and go, and I know a lot of people who do that. And to me, that's unhealthy.
Ooh, okay. So we're gonna get a little deeper because I feel like that's important. It's important. That it really is important because I know that I've experienced times where I don't want to be there. I get up and I'm like, oh, I don't want to see these people today. It's nothing against the people. It's not even anything against the environment itself. Even if it's been a good environment, my spirit just doesn't want to be in the room. I don't want to be there. I don't want to show up. I don't want to be present. And for some people, they're like, okay, well, that's what it is like. I mean, God, who wants to go to work on a Monday, or who wants to go to work on a Friday and have to do all this stuff? I don't want to, and they may just get used to having to feel that way or feeling that way, but not recognizing that as being unhealthy or categorizing that as being unhealthy. So I like that you brought that up. And that's a big deal, because that means you've got to check in with yourself.
You do. You have to check in.
Yeah.
There's no way to do it. I think we've been trained to be disconnected from how we feel, right? Yeah. So we can't even, number one, a lot of us can't name how we feel. Number two, a lot of us can't even sit long enough to figure out what actually am I feeling about the situation, so that I can make a different decision, or I can make a choice on how to take care of myself. That's not cultural. It's becoming more of the norm now because people are talking about it, because pandemic raised a lot of mental health opportunities for people. But that's still a journey for so many, especially when you're overworked and you have families and you have to put, food on the table and take care of bills. All you're in is survival mode for the most part of it. And that is the norm. So we praise survival mode, but we do not praise rest and reflection and connection. And that is the key to move out of that level of unhealth.
Yeah, that's a huge key. I'm excited to hear your keys, but let me just talk a little bit about, my experience with an unhealthy work environment and just how I have personally been able to navigate it. And I won't go all the way back, because I feel like my unhealthy work environments have been throughout the entire time that I've been working. There have been unhealthy moments every now and again, starting from my earlier years in my 20s, when I've got my first big girl job. And I didn't know anything about the work environments. I didn't know anything about corporations. I just knew I needed a job, and I was just so thankful to be there. But I also knew that I had to play a part, right? I feel like, when you become an employee, you have to do what the employer says. At least at that time, I felt like there was no other way to kind of navigate that, or whatever the case was. During the time, I'm not going to say where I worked, but when I started out in my 20s, I was in a place where the morale of everybody was low. It was kind of like a dictatorship, as far as leadership was concerned. When this person walked into the room, when this particular leader would walk into the room would get quiet, or people would sit up straight, fidget with themselves. And there was such a high level of stress where people would be throwing up in the bathrooms because they're stressed out because they couldn't meet their metrics or they couldn't make their numbers. And for me in particular, I just thought that this was the way that it should be. When I approached that particular leader about making the first move or first lateral move within the company, that particular leader told me, "You'll never make it." That leader said, you'll never make it in that particular department.
Mm.
I don't think that you have the skills necessary for that department. You don't have the personality for that department. But I'll sign your paperwork anyway. Now, let me pause on that because, I was taken aback just a little bit. And I said, well, my goodness, what is it about me that would not work in another department? Like I had to, I asked myself that. Then I realized that, you know what? It's not me. It's this person that has a problem with me, or there's something there with this person that can't relate or see me. And that's okay, right? So there was a big rumor. Once this person signed my paperwork, because the bosses and managers have to sign paperwork in order for you to move within the company, or to say, okay, this person is interviewing for another position, whichever, right? They signed my paperwork, and when I realized that I had achieved something that wasn't often achieved, meaning this person didn't sign paperwork for people to go back to school, for people to move to different parts of the organization. They just didn't. And that was okay. People were okay with letting this person do that to them. So when I got my paperwork signed, people were asking, how did that happen? Why did this person sign your paperwork? Like, why are you able to interview for this role? I don't know, call it God, because I feel like in my career, I've always had the privilege of other people seeing me and other people seeing my gifts and talents, and then just pulling me and putting me in positions to move up laterally and upwardly. And I actually ended up getting that lateral role. And in that lateral role, I was highly successful, highly coming in from the bottom, working my way up to managerial level, managing the whole department, definitely handling the coordination and the administration of it all, and becoming one of the top employees. But I don't think at that time I realized it was toxic. Right until the end. I realized there were moments of toxicity, but I didn't realize how toxic it was until the end. And it goes back to something that you were saying about how in your spirit, you just know. There was something that was going on with predatory lending. And in the field that I was in, there were lenders who were a part of the whole predatory lending way back in the early 2000s, if you remember that. And they were preying on these students who were trying to go to school. And the company had got kind of caught up in a lot of that. And there were certain students that had come into the school that I honestly didn't feel like should be there because of the health of the student. For instance, I met with a pedophile. He was a sex offender. And that person was allowed to go to school. They weren't allowed to stay in the dorms, but they were allowed to go to school. And there were things that just didn't match my morale. And it hurt me to go into the building. It hurt me to sit down and do my job. It literally physically hurt, because morally, I don't lie to people, I'm not a dishonest person. Morally, I love to provide you with tips that help you get to the next level. That's just who I am naturally. And then also morally, if there are people who may have the potential to harm someone, or be in a position where a particular situation could arise where there are questions, or it is a questionable situation, then that makes me questionable about the particular leaders that I'm around. So that finally, I just said, you know what? I gotta go. I spent 6 years in that company. I gotta go. That's a long time to spend in a company where you morally didn't match how they were handling things. When I moved on over to another company, I was happy to stay with that company for about 7 years. I did the same thing, moved on up through the ranks. Before I left, my boss cussed me out for leaving. I put my 2 weeks in. They're not the standard. And I was received with all F-bombs. And how could you? And this is not adulting. and well, I won't ever give you a referral, you know and all these things, all this negativity, that's what I was met with upon leaving. And I
Mm.
was so very thankful that I left, because that was confirmation for me. I had already been feeling it within my spirit, but that was
Mm.
confirmation for me that, number one, as a manager, you weren't going to be somebody that would take me anywhere. The work that I would do wouldn't be acknowledged. It wouldn't be it wasn't at the time being acknowledged. It was with a grain of salt. It was, this is the work, but it's not good enough. Let me do it because you obviously can't do it. That was the type of kind of back and forth that I experienced. I need you to be at your desk constantly. I know you work from home, but I need you to be at your desk in front of your computer, to take these meetings and to take these calls. And God forbid you go outside and take a quick walk, on a break. You know what I mean? Like that negative work life balance, or the lack thereof, was not there. And to always be on pins and needles in a remote position felt off to me, um, before I decided to just take another leap. So I always am paying attention to all of the things that I've experienced, negatively from employers, and I'm thankful for being able to discern that and being able to recognize that when they do happen, as confirmation that I'm making the right step by leaving, or by saying, hey, I won't do this, or I can't do this, and just
Mhm.
holding true to that. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, those are some of like my healthy, unhealthy, toxic work examples. What about you? Do you have
Yeah.
any examples of toxicity in your workplace or in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to, before I move into that, just acknowledge what you said, especially when it comes to the seeing part. We have a culture that's rooted in not being seen. So a lot of us have that wounding inside of us. So we're going to recreate that wounding, especially in work environments, and it's going to become the norm, which is so crazy that you were in a work environment where it was the norm for people to be vomiting in bathrooms because they were so stressed out. And we have been taught to stay in really strong cycles of manipulation and control because it's, well, I won't go that far into it, but we've been taught to be in that kind of environment. And unfortunately, that's crazy because now you've got work environments where people don't even know that there's another way out. And when you said, I got a chance to be, like, I've been fortunate to be seen, I want to say kudos to you because that meant that you could see yourself. Like
Yeah.
if you can see yourself, we call that inner sight, inner introspection, intuition, inner guidance. If I can see me, I can see my feelings, I can see my thoughts, I can see my sensations, whatever, then I can create an environment where I get seen.
Mm,
Period.
okay.
Always. So yeah, good for you for being able to do that and being able to navigate that. And because that's really one of the skill sets that people absolutely need in order to move through the ranks. But when it comes to me and my work environments, because I'm a psychotherapist, that's how I've been trained for, I've been doing this work for a really long time. Um, it really started in grad school, honestly. Like I remember being molded to do a job, right? So like they're
Mm,
in the grad program, you're molded to do a job. And when I use quotation around the molded piece, meaning like you are trained to release your ability to be authentic because that's not how psychology trains you. They trained you to play a role, right? Oh, some people gonna get mad at that if I tell the secrets, which is why therapy don't work for pretty much most people. But that's another story for another day, which is why I had to change it. So but I say that because to give you an understanding, when I got out of grad school, there were no jobs. Like it was when I first was in graduate school, there was like all these positions available. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. So when I got out, the biggest thing that was available to me, that was available to most psychotherapists, was community work. Meaning you
oh
spent
wow.
all these years with all this debt, and now you're coming out making what's called minimum wage in our field. $20 an hour is minimum wage, $15 an hour is minimum wage in
Wow.
our field, $25 is minimum, anything under 30 is minimum wage in our field. So you mean to tell me that I done paid all this money and this is the only opportunity for me? So you mean and now I have to spend money when I say community work, that means you was in the streets, like you was driving from house to house doing in-home therapy. And for me, it made it unhealthy because I have to pay for my miles. I have to pay for my gas. I have to pay for my bills. I have to pay for my food. And you're only paying me $19 to $20 an hour. And I only get paid if I see the client. And if the client doesn't show up, I don't get paid. So I wasted miles and gas going to that client's house. They're a no-show. And now I don't get paid. So I remember mommy, she would always be like, why can't you just get another job? Be like, because there is no other job. Like these are the jobs in my field.
Yeah.
Like it was independent contract work, and not to shit on independent contractor work, but make it work for you. I didn't have the opportunities to know that there was another way because everybody kept saying, well, if it's all about who you know, you can get into the hospitals if you know somebody.
Right.
You could go work at the VA if you know somebody. You could do private practice if you know somebody.
But
that was always what it was. And in these spaces, being in a car, driving from house to house just to make ends meet, not being able to take care of myself and eat healthily or wise, not being able to take a bathroom break the way that I needed to, always sitting down and being in traffic. It was just stress on my body. So I say that in itself, because a lot of it was fraudulent activity because people were scamming Medicaid and those companies were popping up all over the place just to scam Medicaid because they knew that they could make a buck off of the homeless people, which is who I worked with. And that was sad. So I was like, let me get out of this because I'm not about to be a part of, to your point where you talked about the moral composition. I can't be a part of a company that wants to steal from people who are in poverty, who are already being stolen from. So I can't live like that. So, but then that put me in other positions of working for other community agencies. But instead of going from the home, I was now in government buildings.
Wow.
And there was the same kind of thing that was occurring over and over, and people were treated like numbers. You would come in, I would have a caseload of 100 people because that was expected. 100 people. You mean I have to remember all the details and personal information of 100 people? Nah, player. Like I'm gonna forget. If I saw them today, I would never know them because you just can't. There's no way. So it was built on making sure that you worked every single hour on the hour, being burnt out, and they don't care if you get sleepy. There would be moments, and this is me just being transparent, that I would be falling asleep in session because I'm so exhausted because of the work that they gave to me. And I remember a client said to me, "Are you sleepy?" That's what I said. I said, "Oh, this is not okay."
No,
I'm the therapist. I'm falling asleep in the session. That's not okay, girl. So it was in those moments where I was like, all right, Anthony, you need to make a change because this is not going to work. But continue to find myself in work environments where the standard quo was to be overworked and underpaid and being underserved because you were the producer, you were the maker. So spit them in as quickly as they come, get them in, treat them, work with them, get them out, move the client. And it was like a construction line or I was like, what? No, this is not how I see people. So I had made it a point to stop working for places that morally I couldn't do the healing work that I really wanted to do.
Gotcha.
And the last place that I worked was, a couple years ago. And I remember it wasn't as, I was like, oh, this is going to be like my saving grace. But I remember that very first day, or maybe the second day, one of the supervisors introduced me to the group and she said, hey, tell them, they all asked a question, what do you do? So when people ask me, what do you do? I'm automatically about to run down the list of all the things that I do. And she said to me, I could see the look on her face. She went from excited to, oh no. And I was like, what is that face? And I was like, I knew. I got called to the principal's office the next day. She called me in and she was like, she said, you can't tell everybody all the things you do. It sounds unprofessional. You need to stick to X, Y, and Z bracket and X, Y, and Z bracket. So I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. They asked me a question about what I do. You didn't ask me, what do you do here? Or how do you do X, Y, and Z? You said, what do I do? So it was in that moment that I realized, oh, I can't be myself here. Got it. You want me to fit into your perfect little box because that's the most professional box to fit in. And I told myself early on that nobody was going to put me in their little professional box. And for me, that made it an unhealthy environment because you want me to just lie to you and tell you, yeah, sure, I'll do X, Y, and Z. And that's what I had to do because I couldn't tell you exactly what I was doing. I couldn't tell you exactly how I was working because you didn't want to hear it. You told me early on, you don't need to know. This is what you do. Stay in your box, stay in your lane. Cool. Yep. That's not okay for me.
Golly.
So, yeah. From morality to being told you can't be who you are, those two things.
That's where you draw the line. Right. I got you. Yeah. Now, some people are like, I'll deal with all that as long as they pay me. You know, I meet with a lot of people who are that way. And so sometimes a toxic work environment doesn't faze anybody. They're like, look, as long as I get paid, I'm getting this guap, this check, I can do what I need to do. And when I turn off my computer, I don't think about that job. And I go on about my day with this money that they provided me. And so for those people, this that might be something that works for them. What I've seen with those people also is that it weighs down on them. You know what I mean? Ultimately, it begins to weigh down on them. It doesn't weigh down on them maybe instantly. But there are a lot of people who always feel like there's not enough money in this world. While it does provide you access and it does give you the things that you need in order to live a life that you desire to live, it doesn't provide happiness. Now, some people are like, well, the things provide me happiness. Well, that's you. But for a lot of people, they're like, I'm looking to be a little bit more fulfilled in what I do, how I move, how I show up, what my truth is. You know what I mean? Like they're looking to be a little bit more fulfilled. So that's why I'm glad that we have you on today, because I know that you are going to provide us with some amazing tips for how to get unstuck, how to navigate these unhealthy / toxic work environments, or even if it's an environment that isn't toxic, that isn't, unhealthy. Maybe it just doesn't morally sit right with you, or it just doesn't feel right within your spirit anymore. Like energetically, it doesn't align with you. It doesn't serve you anymore. But that's why I'm excited, because I know you're going to share some great tips. So let's jump right into the tips, right? Because I feel like
that's what they've been waiting for.
We're going to talk about your 4 tips for moving beyond a toxic workplace. So let's go into it. Let's talk about it. Let's reimagine your ideal work day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a big one, because just to your point, a lot of us just think this is how work should be, right? That this is how work should be. So my very first tip is reimagining your ideal workday. A lot of us don't believe that we can have our ideal anything. So let alone have our ideal workday. You mean to tell me, what does that look like? So some of us can't even access what that looks like. But that's only because, when I say people can't access it, it's only because they're not trying to create an imagination around it. We all have the ability to imagine, because we were kids once. We know how to go into it. The reason when people say, I can't even see what that looks like, is because, number one, they've never seen anything beyond what they've done. So they're confused about even how to create something outside of what it is that they've got, or they don't want to because they feel it's unrealistic. That's usually the 2 reasons why. And I've witnessed people in their 60s. I've worked with people all over, just to give you all an understanding, from literally age 2 all the way to 99. And I've had a wide range of dealing with multitudes of people. So when I see people in their 60s who are down and depressed because they've worked their entire lives because that's what they thought that they should have been doing.
Mhm.
Yes, they made a bunch of success. They made all the money. And now they don't feel connected to
Yeah.
themselves. They don't feel connected to a purpose. They don't feel connected to their families. And now they're depressed and they're like, this is the end of my next half of my life. I don't like this. It doesn't feel good.
Mhm.
So it's going to be really important to begin imagining. So
Yeah.
even if you take a moment to go, what could an ideal work day look like? Do you like working 9 to 5? Does that actually feel in alignment to you? I know that's not my ideal schedule. My ideal schedule is starting my work after 12 o'clock p.m. But I'm an entrepreneur, so I can do that, right? But I also found jobs that started in the afternoon, or they started for the afternoon shift to the evening shift. So I made it a priority never to get in that Atlanta traffic. I was like, oh, I'm not about to wake up at 8 or 7 o'clock in the morning just to be in traffic by 8 something, just to get to work by 9. Nobody got time for that. Right? No. We'll start after 10, after 11, so I can have my first part of my morning carved out to meditate or do something that's for me, that's nourishing. So think about that. Do you actually like working a 9 to 5? The second thing that I would ask is, when you think about your self-care schedule, how does that actually fit with your work schedule? Are you so overworked that you can't take care of yourself? You can't have a bathroom break. You can't have a lunch break. Everybody's calling you from end to end. You don't have time to eat foods and sit there and actually eat it. You don't have time to do a jog or a meditation or whatever the case may be. You don't have time to do none of that, which everybody's got the same amount of time. We all got 24/7, 24 hours in a day, right? 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. So it's not about that. It's really about, how overstimulated am I in my schedule? And can I create a self-care schedule? Does it align? So first thing is, put your self-care first. When you think about what that looks like, how do you want to take care of yourself? Do you want more time just to sit and breathe? Do you want time to read a book? Do you like to be home at a certain time so that you can chill out and not be anywhere else, right? Think about that, because that's where you want to lead from. Whatever's going to bring you the most pleasure in your self-care routine is then how you build your work around that. So for a lot of people, this can be scary to imagine, because I'm asking you to really look at what you've created and to change your identity around what it is that you've created. And sometimes that's going to look like making some internal sacrifices. Like, you may not be able to do this by yourself. You might need to call on a professional. You might need to get some help from a coach or a therapist or a healer or a friend or somebody to help you get from the mental stronghold that's telling you you can't have your self-care schedule because it's impractical, because you're not going to make money. You're going to lose money if you put yourself first. You're going to be lazy if you're not productive. All the strongholds that come with that, you got to work with that so that you can imagine a different kind of day. So that's the first thing.
Wow. That's a big one. That's a big one, because people are stuck in their identity. They're stuck in having an identity and what makes their identity. And so for some people, that could be a task all on its own. It's not going to come overnight. That's going to come with some work. And like you said, breaking some of those extremely strong holes. Those are chokeholds, because it's like probably going to be the most scariest thing that you have ever done if you decide to break it. When you decide to break it and actually release it and go and do what it is you feel like you should be doing, whether that's working in a different type of job, different type of industry, going out there for pursuing your entrepreneurial efforts, whatever that looks like, that can be difficult for a lot of people. So no, I totally hear you on that one. I struggle with that too. I do struggle with that.
Everybody struggles with it.
Yeah.
That's not like a one-sided equation. Like, we are a world that is built on productivity. Move, 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 move. Do. How many of us actually have learned how to work and rest simultaneously while also making money.
Whoop.
Name a person. There's people out there doing it, but how many of them are in our social circles? How many of them are in our family circles? Not a lot. So if
Yeah.
you're very fortunate to have these people around you, cool. You one step ahead, but some of us don't have that. So you got to go and create it. So another way to do that is go to YouTube, type in ideas on reimagining your ideal workday so that you can pull from a model that somebody has already created. Sometimes we need to model ourselves after somebody until we can figure out who we are. So, I call this like acting, not just, how actors do. They get the script and they take it to heart. They go and they follow the person, they shadow the person, they learn from the person, they learn how to speak like the person, talk like the person. Do that.
Wow.
Do that with somebody that you are inspired by so that you can take on trickles and pieces of their identity, because what's going to happen is over time, your true identity is going to rise to the surface, and it's either going to swipe out some of the stuff that you learned or take on new other things or create its own. There's nothing wrong with it, identifying yourself or making yourself after someone in order to, or borrow borrow an identity until you can create one for yourself.
Wow, that's good. That's really good. That's good to know, and to know that it's okay to do that. So, because there are people who will feel like they're fake and phony, and but really you're just building a blueprint for yourself. It isn't that you'll be them. It's not like you're taking on this new person or personality. It's just that you like some of the steps you're that they're taking in order to be successful, and you admire that, and you would like to have some of that in your life. It's taking ownership of what you feel like you deserve or what you feel like you should have. So building that out and carving that out for yourself makes a huge difference. It definitely does. So then let's talk about tip 2, recognizing your emotional, spiritual, and physical needs. How can someone do that?
Mm-hmm. So even just right now, if you take a moment, let's everybody do this for a quick moment. Just close your eyes. If you can close your eyes. When we close our eyes, we automatically enter into the world of inner sight. So if you close your eyes, I want you to see if you can sense the loudest sensation in your body. For some of us, we may have been numb for too long, so we can't feel. So just take a moment and feel it. Okay, and now ask yourself, what do I need in this moment? What do I need in this moment? And just see what occurs. All right, now open your eyes. What did you notice, right? Let us know in the comments. What did you notice?
Wow.
I'm asking you, what did you notice?
I know. So the biggest thing that I noticed about myself, or just in hearing in that moment, was that it's okay to let go. Recently, not even recently, but here lately, I've been kind of battling, and to me, I call it more of a spiritual kind of warfare. I'm holding on to, and I know my spiritual people will be like, girl, just let go and let God. Because I agree, but I'm holding on to certain parts of myself that I don't feel no longer, they don't serve me anymore. But I'm holding on to it because I'm comfortable. And what I keep hearing God say when I go into my own meditation is to let that go and let me guide you. And that everything that you want is already set up. You just have to let go of what you're doing. And that's been a big struggle for me. It's big because I don't know what that looks like on the other side. That's the control part. Like, I don't know what that looks like on the other side. I hear you, God, and I want to trust you, but I don't know how to do it. And I keep hearing, let go and I'll show you. Spend more time with me and I'll show you. And I'm just like, okay. Okay. And I do pieces and pieces of that. You know what I mean? So what I felt and what I heard was, this is confirmation. This is validation of what you need in order to move to the next step. Trust your emotional, your spiritual needs, trust that a little bit more than the physicality of what you're experiencing, if that makes sense.
What was the loudest sensation that you found in your body?
The loudest sensation was right here in my chest. It's like I don't know how to describe it, but it was like a I won't say a heaviness, but it's very tense, right? Just kind of like from here on up, because there's so many things that in order for me to make the step, I need to say and I need to speak up and I need to like use my voice in order to do it. And that's scary to me.
Right. So you feel that right here, right? So what I would do with my clients, I would have them connect with that sensation because I imagine that sensation holds an emotion, a cathartic release that needs to happen. You might need to cry before you can get to the how. You might need to scream before you can get to the how. That sensation is giving you information to the part of you that's saying, let go and let God. So now we've made a connection. Now we've made a spiritual and an emotional and a physical connection in just a small amount of moments, right? So and I know it's going to take a little bit of a deeper process, right? Because some of us don't have the ability to name. Some of us don't have words. And even if you don't have words or the ability to name, please sit with it because the sensation, I always say sensations is literally the language of how our soul speaks. So if we can listen to our bodies, then we can listen to our soul and we can get clear. So if there's tension, wow, what must I be creating? What must I be experiencing that has the tension in my life? Ooh, I feel like when I sat and listened, I was like, oh girl, I'm tired. Like I felt the like heaviness in my shoulders. It felt tense in my shoulders. And I'm like, and what I needed was rest. That's what I needed. I needed to rest. I need to rest. I probably will be resting later today, right? So we can get these information moments throughout the day if we give ourselves an opportunity. So the reason why this is number 2 is because when we've been trained to stay in toxic or unhealthy work environments for far too long, we get disconnected from our emotional, spiritual, and physical needs. So we can't sit and take that time to go, yeah, I actually resonate. Because what you experienced was, oh shit, this is too scary. Natural response is, let me overwork to distract myself. Let me go drink this out after work. Let me go do something to avoid that sensation that I just felt because I don't like it. It doesn't feel good now. So we get to catch ourselves in distraction. And a lot of us overwork because we need the distraction to feel what the truth is of our own heart. And our own heart is trying to get us out of a circumstance to get us into something new. So begin to trust that part of you. That's the way we move.
You're right. That's such a big deal. That's a big deal because while I don't know if I recognize them as distractions until literally yesterday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a big deal. Thank you. I had the opportunity to begin meditating last week. And when I started hearing God a little, he was loud and clear. He was like, he was right there. Spend more time with me. I'm going to show you how. And every time I do it, I hear certain things. And what I heard yesterday was you have a lot of distractions. Remove the distractions that are in your life. The things that keep you idle from doing what I'm asking you to do, remove them. And, and when you keep searching for something and you just don't find it. And I've been searching for things and I haven't been able to find it. And I keep hearing God say, it's because it's not going to be there. I'm going to give you your next opportunity. I'm going to, not you. So when you start to take you out of the picture and let me work, I will guide you. I will, you know what I mean? And that is like, whoa, is in my head. I'm like, well, is that tomorrow? Are you going to guide me tomorrow?
No.
There's the control part. Like that's the part I don't want to let go. Like, you know what I mean? So the distractions are huge because I will overwork. I am recreating processes in my head, and I'm not spending enough time to relax. And I'm not, and I'm on my little video game that I like to do in my idle time. I have little things that I do in my idle time, and that's one of them. I have different things that just are distractions that I could be doing something more. Number one, I could be sleeping. I could be resting, like you said. I could rest. I could rest and get the necessity that I need. I could be working out. I could be doing things that are beneficial to my overall health and where I'm going, or where God is trying to show me that I need to go.
Yeah,
And so
it's a
that's what
journey.
I heard. That's what I heard yesterday. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
gotta just start
and
acting. I've got to start acting.
yeah, it's time to start acting. I mean, I'm gonna say this: like a distracted mind creates an overwhelmed environment. So you cannot have a peaceful environment if you're always distracted. That the two don't go hand in hand. Those are two different environments. Distraction creates more overwhelm. Always. It doesn't create peace. It only creates temporary peace because you're like, okay, I don't have to deal with it for now. But over time, it's going to build, and it builds and it builds and builds. And this is how we're in work environments that we can be in for 15, 17 years, 5 years, 3 years, dealing with the same in and out crap that we don't have to put up with.
Yeah.
So that's really important.
That's really, really huge. And in my industry, I see a lot of people who come to the table after working for companies for 20 years and they're like, I'm ready to make a shift. I'm not fulfilled. I don't want to do this. They have already started to recognize themselves emotionally, spiritually, and physically. They've already reimagined their workday. Now they just need their documents. They need their career documents to showcase that. And so they can continue to put that energy out there. And the people that I find that do that have been the most successful in getting what they want or achieving their dreams or the next steps, and just kind of creating that lifestyle. So I love that you had us do that little exercise, because that's what I've been really trying to do, trying to sit with myself a lot here lately, trying to figure it out. And that was confirmation for me. All right, so let's get into the next one. Number 3, creating a shift in perspective about work-life balance.
Y'all, this is a little deeper. So if you are still with us and you are still watching, because we done gone through many layers that I'm sure if you was looking for a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 step, you done clicked off this video. You didn't get it. And that's okay, because that's just not where we are, because we want you to actually create a shift from the root. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps are not going to be the case. But these are tips to actually create an overall shift in your life. So this one is creating a shift in your perspective about work-life balance. And the reason why is because we're so conditioned to be like, I just want that work-life balance. Like, I want to be able to work and, do X, Y, and Z. And the reason why I say this is unhealthy is because work requires a completely and different environment and system. And I'm gonna break it down like this. So I'm gonna need for you to follow me. Okay. Inside of the body, physiologically, we have 2 primary systems. We have our sympathetic nervous system and we have our parasympathetic nervous system. These 2 do not operate at the same time. Sympathetic nervous system is responsible for adrenaline. It's responsible for the doingness. It's responsible for the I'm up, I'm taking action, I'm getting it together. Parasympathetic nervous system is responsible for your rest. It's responsible for your calm down. It's responsible for digestion. So when we're looking to bring these 2 together, our bodies don't even bring them together to work. You have to do one and or do the other, right? Like there has to be a complete and total separation of peace in order to be created. So to make it even more simpler, work has been taught to us to always be doing. So let me do life this way too. So I'm going to do even in my self-care. I'm going to do even in my everything, and when I say do, meaning like I need to be up, I need to be moving, I need to be doing something, I need to be running. I'm going to do even in my healing. I should be working hard to find these problems and be doing something to shift them. If I'm we're always doing. How is that living? How is that balance? That's not balance. You still working. You still working to heal. You still controlling your environments to heal. You still trying to do everything to make yourself take care of yourself. So
Mhm.
I would like to introduce the idea of erasing a work-life balance and just creating a lifestyle that allows you to play and make money.
Mhm.
Like, build a lifestyle. Build a lifestyle. Don't build a work style. Build a lifestyle. Because
Hmm.
if you're choosing a work style to say, I it's going to look like this, and this, you're just going to keep perpetuating the same opportunity that's going to make you feel stressed out in the end. So build a lifestyle. Like I said at the beginning, reimagine your workday. This requires you building a life of, where does my pleasure fall? Where does my fulfillment fall? Now, I'm not going
Mm.
to lie to say, money can't do that, but money can't be your only pleasure center. Like, it's a pleasure center, that's for sure, but it's not what you want to wrap your head around. I don't want to just, for some people, they might want to take a job just because it pays them money, but we're talking
Right.
to the people that this is not the case. They're tired of taking a job just to take a money. So where is your passion? What actually fulfills you in the day? When you get up and you think about how you want to serve yourself and humanity, does your day actually align with that?
Mm.
Or are you going to be like, okay, I work this hour and then I'm going to serve humanity from this hour? Like, what? No, create a lifestyle that
Wow.
allows you to do that. So I don't subscribe to the work-life balance. I think that it's been the lie that's been sold to us for however long it's been sold to us,
Woo.
thanks to all the stuff that's occurred. We could go on and on and on about that, because
Yes.
we're rooted in capitalism to make money. We're rooted in capitalism to create productivity. So
Mhm.
because of that, we only know how to do and how to perform. What would life look like if I didn't have to perform and I could just allow? I moved out of the country so that I could just allow. I don't
Hmm.
have to think about the next day. I'm like, okay, I mean, I got a small structure, like I got to see clients and whatnot, but the next day can just unfold and I can just do what unfolds in front of me. Like, I can say, hey, I want to go find X, Y, and Z and do X, Y, and Z. And guess what? I'm going to meet somebody that says, hey, you want to do da 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 da. I'm like, I was just thinking about that. Yes, I want to do blah 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 blah, or yes, I want to partake in blah blah blah. You want to go swim in the cenotes? Yes, I want to go do that. That actually feels fun. You want to go to the beach today? Yeah, I want to do that. That's the priority of my life. And
Yeah.
guess what? When I'm in flow, money still comes to me because I'm not
Mm.
trying to hold on to needing to force the money. Money, I'm gonna put this gun up to you and you gonna come to me. Like,
Right.
why do we keep doing that to ourselves?
It's a
We
flow.
don't, it's a flow state. A flow state requires passion. Figure out what draws you, what motivates you, what aligns you, what keeps you feeling good, and go do more of that. And then put work in there for later and create a little structure around that.
I love that. That is perfect. That's perfect. The lie of the work-life balance. Woo.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
That was deep.
That's a lie. I mean, some people are like, oh, that's the same thing, girl. You just said it all fancy and deep. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever.
Hey, man, listen, to me, to have, because I feel like there's still like work-life balance may mean something different to someone else. Right.
Absolutely.
So this is
Hmm.
just your definition of what you've experienced and your thought behind it. And that is something that is a different perspective for a lot of people. It is a different perspective. So I think that that's huge to take into consideration. Um, so how do people do this? How do they remove their limits and how do they take risk? You know?
Yeah. Last tip is removing limits, taking risks, being releasing. One of the things that we are in the chase of is the dollar.
Mm.
Like I mentioned before, we're constant chasers of money because our society has rooted us to be chasers of money. And I know, because I have definitely been a chaser of money, and I still have to catch myself when I find myself chasing the money and forgetting to chase my actual goal and passion.
Yeah.
Because what keeps us in unhealthy relationships with our jobs is the dollar. It's like, yo, you paying me, so I might as well stay. Or I'll stay if you give me more money. Forget how I feel. Forget how you treated me. I'll stay if you give me more money because the money will make being here sweeter. If you have to say that to yourself, it's like the domestic violence situation. They love me even though they hit me. I'm going to stay because they actually show up for me. They're giving me some attention. That's not healthy. You getting beat, right? You're getting abused. So I'm going to stay in this unhealthy relationship with my job because it's giving me the finances to do so. What if you could have a work environment that actually pays you, that also gives you the flexibility of time freedom? What if you also had the ability to be honored in your self-care? I know that exists because I worked at a company that did that, right? And there's many companies out there that prioritize the mental and emotional wellness of the people working for them, because they know if you're not well, you're not going to stick around, number one. And number two, you can't do the job. You're going to be too stressed out. There's going to be a lot of mistakes going on. So when we think about that, that keeps us there. So if you feel desperate and you feel like I need this job, then it's time to figure out what are the other ways to bring money into you. And this is where passive income comes into play. Because direct income is not going to be your wealth builder. It's going to be the one that keeps you on the escalator of trying to get the dollar, trying to get the status, and constantly feeling stress in the work-life balance, right? So we want to build passive income. One of the beautiful things the pandemic has taught us so far is that we don't have to work 8 hours a day. You can do all of that 8-10 hour job in less than 3 hours and spend the rest of your day doing whatever it is that you want and still get paid the same kind of money that you was getting paid when you was driving into the office, right? So the beauty of that is that people have started going, wait a minute, hold up. You mean to tell me I can work online and get money?
Yeah.
And they've been doing this whole time.
Yeah.
And this has landed a lot more awareness in passive forms of income. I would encourage people to really look into how to build passive forms of income. If you are, and one way to do that is through investments, investing with cryptocurrency that builds passive income. I think I talked about this in the last video. Go watch that last video. Because that's not just through cryptocurrency. The other thing would be infinite banking. The other thing would be life insurance. The other thing would be real estate. The other thing would be flipping or using cars. There's multiple different ways to invest and have an asset that actually pays you. We need compounding interest, meaning we need your money to work for you so that you don't feel desperate. Like, oh, I need this direct income. Because if you feel like you need this direct income, you're going to settle for anything. You'll settle for the bare bottom minimum because you need it. But if you have multiple assets coming in and multiple forms of income coming in, you won't be so desperate. You'll feel more liberated. You'll feel more rich and abundant just because you have the energy to make choice. And choice really is the biggest currency, because choice is what allows us to have freedom. So if I have a choice to say yay or nay, then I'm already wealthy. So we create a passive income that allows for us to have compounding interest. And also get online and look up these classes. People are giving mad wealth out there, tips about building passive income, making YouTube videos, going and having an online course, going and putting stuff up online in a drop shipment company. Like, there's so many opportunities to make passive income. So make your money work for you so that you actually have choice. Because if you're still just working for the dollar and working the 9 to 5, you're constantly a slave to the clock, and you're a slave to the corporation that you're working for. And that doesn't make you feel good. It's not going to make you feel good in the end or fulfilled. Yeah.
I love that. I love it. Yeah. Jewels, tips, and gems all day from you. And I think that is a beautiful thing. And you're right. Make your money work for you. Be smart. We want to work smarter, not harder. I know we all know that saying. So let's invest. Let's build our passive income streams up so that we can live the life that we want to live. So I no one once again, I just want to thank you. I know, like I said, I know you're my sister, but you didn't have to do this. You didn't have to be here today. I want to thank you for sharing all of your tips and resources with our viewers. That's what we do on Tipsy Tuesdays. So I want to thank you right now. Um, Before we end our live, I do want to do my shameless plugs. This is the point of the broadcast where I'm plugging all of my stuff shamelessly. Shamelessly. I want to make sure that you know what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, how you can support if you're interested in supporting. So, as you know, I am the CEO and founder of COAC, Community Outreach and Advocacy Corporation. We are a nonprofit that serves underserved communities by addressing food insecurities, basic need insecurities, job insecurities, and amplifying the workforce in a multitude of ways through a lot of our programs. Feel free to check out our website to see all the things that we're doing, all the partnerships that we've made. The amount of people we've helped to date is a little, right? We're growing, but it's over 600 people to date in the last few years. So I've been very, very blessed to have an amazing team and amazing people that support me each and every time. And so that's always been a blessing. So go and give back if you're looking for a nonprofit organization to give back to, if you're looking to make a difference, if you're looking to make impact, hit up coacservices.com, check us out, see what we're all about. And of course, the Good Resume Project is a part of COAC, all right? So this is our service sector. If you are looking to make the step in your career, you're ready to go to the next level, you're ready to move laterally, you want to make sure your resume, your cover letter, and your LinkedIn profiles just look good because you want to brand yourself, visit the Good Resume Project. We have all services for your needs. All proceeds help us fund and deliver in the community. So visit goodresumeproject.com to check us out, check out our services, and get on our books so we can meet with you. And then, of course, I am going to tell you what's next. Okay. Tipsy Tuesdays is hosted every 2 weeks. Now, we did take a little break and we're back, but every 2 weeks, our next Tipsy Tuesday is going to be navigating the tech industry. Okay. Now, I have been fortunate to have a multitude of people around me with a lot of wealth, a lot of knowledge, a lot of gems, and they want to give these tips. They want to spread these resources. And of course, I had to go and marry somebody that does the same thing. Okay, so next in 2 weeks, we are here again with my husband, Nathan, who's going to be teaching you how to navigate in the tech industry, how to enter into the tech industry, how to work your way around it once you're in it, how to go from being in a totally different industry to now wanting to get into the tech industry. That's where a lot of the trend is heading. And I tell you, this guy, husband or not, has gems. He has jewels. He's been in the industry for over 20 years, and we've been together for 20 years. So he's had different levels in the tech industry where he's now a senior scrum master and he's ready to spread his tips and give them to you. So I hope that today was helpful. Thank you once again, Ebony, for joining our call and spreading the love, spreading the wealth. Is there anything you want to say before we end?
No, like if you want to get in touch with me and you want to do some deeper work, especially in some of the stuff that we've talked about or building out your relationships, I work with women and couples and I teach them how to love unconditionally and without compromising who they are in their relationships, especially when it comes to being seen, heard, and understood. So if you want to do some work, head on over to sacredloveretreats.com and you can check me out there.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you once again. And goodbye, Facebook, goodbye, LinkedIn, and goodbye, YouTube. I will see y'all next time. Peace.